Good morning, everybody. Mike's MMA Picks here with your Fight Morning Quick Card Breakdown show brought to you by MMAOddsbreaker and BetDSI. We have fantastic day of fights to look forward to at UFC Vegas 63, where we have Calvin Kattar taking on Arnold Allen. Arnold Allen has been a money train for us throughout the years, dating back to Gilbert Melendez, Nick Lentz, and others, Dan Hooker, etc. 11 fights, 7 of these bouts are expected to end inside the distance, currently favored to inside the distance, and we have a number of bouts that are hovering around evens to end inside the distance. So let's get things kicked off with the first bout of the night, where we have a bantamweight matchup between Christian Rodriguez and Joshua Weems. Joshua Weems missed weight. Looked like he was unable to put a significant training camp together here because he took the fight on such short notice, came in at 139.5 pounds. Joshua Weems, you watched the Contender Series matchup, and don't let the striking fool you. Weems is primarily a grappler, somebody who's going to try to come in here and ground Rodriguez and lock up a submission. He thinks he's going to be able to grind Rodriguez out. Rodriguez is somebody who has passed the eye test. You watch Christian Rodriguez fight both at Rufus Sport and through the way up the ranks. He is a flashy fighter with slick striking, slick boxing, has some submissions to speak of, has a ground game. We saw against JSP, was able to put Pierce in some trouble early. And in this spot, you saw Rodriguez was the last fighter to make weight, although he doesn't look like he is a physical specimen, he has the tools. And I'll be picking Christian Rodriguez to win and to do so inside the distance. I think that he has shown the ability both on the feet and on the mat. Now, Weems could try to come in here and muscle Rodriguez against the cage. That's something that's happened in the past in some of Rodriguez's fights. He gets pushed against the cage and will need to find a way out of there to have some success here. But the longer the fight goes, I suspect the gas tank is going to come into play for Weems. We know Rodriguez has spent this time at Fight Ready and seems prepared for this matchup. So give me Rodriguez to win inside the distance. I think we're going to see a situation here where Weems completely gasses out, and the finish could be there, both either submission or TKO or live. Next up, we have the debut of Carlos Mota taking on Cody Durden. Cody Durden wasn't able to get an entire camp in here. Durden was supposed to fight Clayton Rodriguez, I believe, and Durden coming in as a plus 135 underdog, taking on Carlos Mota, who is sitting at minus 165. Carlos Mota is a fighter who passes the eye test, somebody who reminds me of a mini Edson Barbosa out there. When you watch him fight, his striking is slick. He is not afraid to change levels, go to the body with his strikes. Made weight also on short notice. Very impressive to do so, especially at flyweight, 125.5 pounds. Cody Durden also looked solid on the scales, looked like he's the bigger fighter. He's the fighter who does have the wrestling in his back pocket. We saw Durden try to force the wrestling in a number of fights, not necessarily against JP Bays, but against the Mongolian Murderer. You saw him really go all out from a wrestling standpoint, pushing the pace with the grappling, and he looked like he gassed himself out after that first round. So Carlos Mota here, much more proficient, cleaner striker, has gone into deep waters, but the challenge here is he's going up against Durden, who's going to try to look to chain wrestle and win by any means necessarily. I think Mota's going to catch him here, and I believe he's going to win this fight via TKO. I'll be picking Carlos Mota here, and the under, as well as fight doesn't go the distance, are in play as far as I'm concerned. I know that this is a flyweight matchup, but I think both of those are live. And also in the previous matchup between Rodriguez and Weems, that's another fight where I believe that fight will not hit the scorecards. But give me Carlos Mota here to come out in his debut. Now, one thing I'll say is Mota is not the biggest flyweight. I know he does look like he's got a lot of mass to him, but as far as size goes, and he looks like he is a blown up 115 pounder. You watch him fight. I know he's fought at 139 pounds, etc. in the past, but he's a very small flyweight. Now, what does that say? That doesn't really tell you much as far as the fighting ability goes, because he has that. We know he's got a black belt under his belt. I believe he's gonna catch Mota's going to catch Durden in a combination here and put his lights out. So give me Carlos Mota to win. Next up, where we have Chase Hooper taking on Steve Garcia. Chase Hooper coming in. Can you believe this? In 2022, we have Chase Hooper sitting at a minus 310 betting favorite, taking on Steve Garcia sitting at plus 240. Steve Garcia dropping down to 145 pounds. Steve Garcia is somebody who will really throw caution to the wind. The Ontiveros fight, my gosh, he was clipped there initially, I believe, with an axe kick. And Hooper, I hope Hooper doesn't stand and try and trade with Garcia, because Garcia has hands here, and Hooper has a significant grappling advantage here, especially with Garcia coming down. Garcia should have the power to carry that extra 10 pounds that he had to lose. Now he's going to rehydrate here. I don't think this fight's going to see the scorecards. Hooper has the ability to his length on the mat is going to be a real problem here for Garcia. And also the way he just continues to transition, it seems to gas a lot of fighters out. And I think that's going to happen here against Garcia. Didn't look good on the scales also, Garcia. So give me Chase Hooper to win this matchup. And around evens at plus money, Hooper inside the distance is an option here, but I also like the under 2.5 here. So give me Chase Hooper to win, and to do so via submission here. Next up, let's take a look at the comments here. Good morning. Yes, go get what's yours. Evan, good morning. Good to see you. Remember, go get what's yours, my buddy. Let's see. Rye, you made it. Thank you. Good morning. By the way, props to anybody who was able to lock up some of these blown openers that they put out there. I'm not sure which book it was. Maybe it was, I'm not sure, but Rodriguez, I know he opened close in the minus 160s or so. Now he's minus 400 favorite. That's ridiculous. So let's get back to this matchup here, where we have Joseph Holmes taking on Jun Young Park, the Iron Turtle. Jun Young Park coming in as a minus 230 betting favorite, taking on Joseph Holmes. Joseph Holmes, he's a much larger fighter in this matchup. Joseph Holmes is a fighter who is going to use his length, is going to try to pump that jab, and he does have a submission threat, but the Jamie Pickett fight was less than a year ago, right? That's very, very concerning here. Jun Young Park is the much more accomplished fighter who he's not the perfect fighter. He could have potentially lost the last bout against Eric Anders. Eric Anders was really trying to ground Jun Young Park and ended up running out of gas down the stretch. Jun Young Park is a fighter who has a wrestling advantage here, has a volume advantage, has a pace advantage, and he's going to have to get into a phone booth with Holmes. One thing I'll say, though, Holmes, when he was fighting against Jamie Pickett, the elbows are in play here, especially standing elbows. Keep an eye on that. Jun Young Park, though, doesn't make massive mistakes unless he's going for the finish like he did against Gregory Rodriguez. Park is going to be my pick. And it's interesting to watch this line come all the way down. I believe at some books it was sitting right near minus 200. What type of massive improvements are you looking for from Joseph Holmes in less than a year from making his UFC debut? And he looked like a very raw fighter out there. So Holmes could shock the world and end this fight inside the distance, but conventional wisdom would lead me to believe Jun Young Park wins this fight much more often than not. So the pick is going to be Jun Young Park. Next bout, where we have the old warhorse, Andre Arlovski, taking on Marcos Rogerio de Lima. Marcos Rogerio de Lima he's sitting at minus 250. This is a little bit obscene to see Andre Arlovski, a fighter who is riding a 4-fight winning streak, sit as a plus 200 underdog here. I realize he's 43 years old, and he could have potentially lost a few of the matchups that I just mentioned during that 4-fight winning streak. But Arlovski, we know, has the footwork to cause many heavyweights fits, and also he just finds a way of weaseling out victories. Marcos Rogerio de Lima, I was at his UFC 230 bout where he bounced up to heavyweight after his loss to OSP. I believe OSP got the Von Flue choke in that matchup. But at UFC 230, Rogerio de Lima got back on track, and he's a force to be reckoned with. But we know he's quit many times before, and after that first round, that guy carries around so much weight. He's got heavy kicks and is somebody who is dangerous, especially on the feet. But he's a big boy. If he ends up on top of Arlovski, that could be a problem for Arlovski. But Arlovski is a smart fighter. Both of these fighters are actually out of ATT. I wonder about the fans inside of this Apex. How much are they going to play a role in the outcome of this bout? Because we saw against Jay Collier, there was a large contingency of fans backing Arlovski, and that really, every time Arlovski did something, the crowd went nuts. And I was concerned when that hit the scorecards, and sure enough, Arlovski won a split decision victory. De Lima, though, we got to be honest with ourselves here. He does have paths to victory if he does this. If he gets it done, I lean to it being done inside the distance. I am concerned anytime a fight hits the scorecards for Andre Arlovski, because Arlovski is live here. If he doesn't get knocked out, if he doesn't go unconscious, give me Marcos Rogerio de Lima, but it would not shock me one bit to see Arlovski sneak this one out. Next up, wow, we have in what day and age would you see Phil Hawes as a significant favorite? I know he's coming off of that spectacular victory over Deron Winn. Deron Winn, who in another world should be fighting at lightweight. Look at Deron Winn's frame and his reach, and Deron Winn's head may weigh close to 150 pounds. It's incredible to see him competing at middleweight. So Phil Hawes, I don't put too much stock in that victory against Deron Winn. And you watch his previous matchups, the Dalkas fight, I'll give him that. That was impressive to come back after he completely gassed himself out against Imavov. And we know Phil Hawes has he's a physical specimen with a number of skills that are very helpful inside of the octagon. He's got great wrestling. He's very, very explosive. He will go for the kill. And He's run into problems with his gas tank. Roman Dolidze, he came onto the scene, spent a few years on the sidelines after getting popped by USADA. Then Ibrahimov, I believe, that he beat in his debut. And Dolidze, he can crack when he wants to, but he's looking to grind you against the fence. And now that's not something you want to do against Phil Hawes. Phil Hawes will win that battle all day. Dolidze is going to have to crack Phil Hawes with something while Hawes tries to close distance here. And I do not trust Phil Hawes' chin. Dolidze could potentially land a heavy kick at some point. Dolidze is going to try to look to grapple and land a heel hook. I can't count on that happening here. But what I do wonder about is Phil Hawes' chin. I still have a challenge. I still sleepless nights thinking about Phil Hawes' chin and his susceptibility to being caught. We saw against the Chris Curtis in the Chris Curtis matchup, that was a concern here. And I just don't trust Phil Hawes' chin. It only takes one to take out Phil Hawes. So I'll be picking Dolidze here. We haven't seen Dolidze completely crumpled in the octagon, and I believe he's live here, the Georgian fighter. I can't back Phil Hawes. I'll be picking Dolidze. And that cut to middleweight seems to be going a little bit easier these days for him. Next up, where we have Dustin Jacoby taking on Khalil Roundtree. Interesting matchup here. Khalil Roundtree, who I've tweeted this out in the past, that he's a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde type of fighter. Somebody who is he going to show up? Question marks. We do not know until that octagon door closes. Dustin Jacoby riding an 8-fight winning streak. I was at his bout recently. I believe it was against Da Un Jung, where he knocked Jung out, and that was very, very impressive. Somebody who has cardio, comes out of a great camp. Jacoby, that is. Now, Jacoby, one thing I will say is sometimes, I know he's a kickboxer by trade, but he is very light on that front foot sometimes when he's settling in. And I'm concerned about Roundtree taking out that lead leg of Jacoby. It's something I've got to be aware of here. And also Jacoby, there have been previous fights where he hasn't thrown kicks because he was injured. So interesting spot here. Khalil Roundtree, he's going to be at a reach disadvantage. He's going to be at a volume disadvantage. He's going to be at a cardio disadvantage here. The one thing Roundtree has for him are the two things. He's got the leg kicks, and also he has that fight-ending power. And I can't bank on that happening in this spot. Jacoby has many more paths to victory here. He's the better all-around fighter. He also, you look at this, you think about, all right, is Roundtree going to try to ground Jacoby? No, he hasn't landed a takedown in the entirety of his UFC career. That's something I have to point out. Now, Jacoby's only landed, I believe, 3 in his career, but can't bank on Roundtree taking this fight to the mat or have any success if it goes late. So the pick's going to be Jacoby. And also, if you'd like to hedge with Roundtree by KO, I believe that's sitting around plus 300 or so. That may be the way to go, but I have to pick Jacoby in this matchup. Now, he could win this fight via decision or inside the distance. I could see, I see Jacoby finishing Roundtree late, but wouldn't surprise me to see Jacoby win this one inside the distance. Let's see. Whenever you say I wouldn't be surprised to see, it seems to come true a lot of times. Okay. Yep. Well, that's why we spend 20 plus hours behind the scenes preparing for these cards. I know we're breaking this down in about 30 minutes or so, but believe you me, there are about 20 plus hours of research behind each of these UFC cards. So it's a pleasure and an honor to do this. And thanks to MMAOddsbreaker for hosting the show. Next up, where we have Tresean Gore taking on Josh Fremd. Josh Fremd looked impressive in his last time out against Fluffy Hernandez and ended up coming up short there. Had a great gas tank on short notice, was putting Hernandez in some tough spots. Tresean Gore, man, Cody Brundage really took care of business. Landed some strikes there, caused Gore some problems. We saw the rawness of Tresean Gore, that he is not a complete fighter at this stage in the game. Still has a long way to go. Now, Gore moved his camp over to Fortis MMA for this bout. He said he was living on an air mattress and left his family for this camp. So are we going to see a desperate Tresean Gore? I'm sure we are. That doesn't mean he's shored up his submission defense here. I'm leaning towards Josh Fremd here. Josh Fremd, though, I have a concern that he may potentially get knocked out in this matchup. So this is a tricky fight to break down, because Gore, he is a fighter who is I see concerns in him when he tries to extend himself in exchanges, and also from a volume perspective, he's concerned about gassing himself out, and that's a real possibility. And you don't want to gas yourself out against somebody who can take your back and submit you in Josh Fremd. So Gore, I believe he'll continue to be economical in his approach. Will try to catch Josh Fremd with something huge. Now, Fremd, I think that he has a couple of paths to victory. He could extend Gore and cause Gore some fits here. Fremd, likely with a full camp, has the better cardio here, and also has the much better grappling. So give me Josh Fremd here, and take a look at that Josh Fremd via submission line as well. Next up, we have heavyweights. And we have Jared Vanderaa, who is on the heels of I believe 4-fight losing streak. He's lost 5 of his last 6 bouts. Vanderaa, I tweeted this out last night. He has an uncanny ability to fight to his opponent's strengths. This is a guy who against Olnick went right into the bear trap. I believe after that bout ended up vomiting inside of the octagon. He has gone into the wheelhouse against Chase Sherman and was knocked out against Chase Sherman when he had a clear path to victory as far as the grappling goes. Somebody who has his best days have come against Harry Hunsucker. So, let that soak in. That's a concern. Jared Vanderaa plus 160 underdog, taking on Waldo Cortez Acosta, who is not much to write home about from a grappling perspective, but he can throw hands here. And this is a concerning matchup for Vanderaa if Acosta starts getting his hands going. I know Vanderaa is a big boy, man. 259, I believe. He that's a lot of weight to be carrying around at heavyweight, and he has some grappling to speak of. Vanderaa, that is. Acosta undefeated. Vandera's been finished 6 times, so I wouldn't be going out of my way to play Vanderaa at plus 160. I also wouldn't be going out of my way to be backing Acosta at minus 200 here. So for me, this is a pass, but I'm concerned that folks continue to go back to the well with Vanderaa time and time again, when he's shown you that he is many times incapable of making the correct decisions inside of the octagon. So give me Cortez Acosta. I think Vanderaa is going to make another mistake in there, and Acosta is going to capitalize on it. Next up, where we have a welterweight matchup between Tim Means and Max Griffin. Max Griffin coming in as a minus 190 betting favorite, taking on the Dirty Bird. The Dirty Bird, one of my all-time favorite fighters. Love the way this guy fights. He's getting up there, though. 38 years of age, has seen many, many, many wars, and I'm a big fan of Tim Means. Now, Max Griffin, 36 years of age. Griffin looked much better on the scales here. Griffin should have more in the tank if this fight gets extended. But if Tim Means is able to find his groove, and we've seen that happen many times in fights against Mike Perry, Nicholas Dalby, there have been others through the years where he will get his boxing going. And also, don't sleep on his takedowns. Also, Tim Means has the ability to grapple. Recently, though, he's been getting caught. And by the way, we cashed on Kevin Holland by submission last time Tim Means got into the octagon. I believe that was at plus 1,400 or something like that. Some obscene odds. Tim Means, though, live in this spot, as far as I'm concerned, still has the tools. This may be his last hurrah here. Max Griffin, though, he was winning that fight against Neil Magny. And he's shown that although he's 36, he seems to be turning a corner here. I'll be picking Griffin, but I'm not counting out Tim Means at all. I think that there is a possibility that Means starts to turn up here and gets his striking going. And I believe Means is the better striker by far in this matchup. But if you go by volume and the ability to push a pace, that's going to be Max Griffin's world. So give me Max Griffin in this spot, but I'm staying away from this fight. I think that this is a much closer fight than the odds suggest. Now, main event of the evening, where we have featherweights. Arnold Allen taking on Calvin Kattar. Calvin Kattar coming in as he's minus 110 right now. He could have been had for plus odds as an underdog at some books, and this line had flipped. Arnold Allen is now minus 120 at the betting favorite. Arnold Allen has been a money train for me through the years. Except for the first fight that I ended up playing him against Makwan Amirkhani. We saw that Arnold Allen had the grappling in that, the scrambling ability to pull himself out there. That was a very, very close fight, but that was a long, long time ago. And Arnold Allen has continued to develop, grow into his frame. By the way, he looks massive for this featherweight division. I know it looked like he had a rough cut as well. Arnold Allen does not take much damage on the feet. He's somebody who will get in and get out. He is economical in his approach. That concerns me, though. In a 5-round fight, Calvin Kattar, we know that Kattar has the better cardio in this spot. Kattar has the volume. He has the experience of going 5 rounds before. Now, on the flip side of that, he's been brutalized a number of times inside of the octagon. He's taken tremendous amounts of damage. He should have won that fight against Josh Emmett last time out. It was I believe the referees awarded that fight, or the judges awarded that fight to the wrong fighter. Arnold Allen is lightning quick, and that's something that Kattar's going to have to watch out for, especially early. He's going to have to try to close distance. Now, the other thing here we have to mention, this fight takes place inside of the smaller octagon, and that is going to be something to note. Calvin Kattar against Josh Emmett, that was in the larger octagon. He had more room to move. The Sadiq Youssef fight, that's a fight that I watched back also. Arnold Allen had his moments there, but as far as volume goes, and he used his footwork to really get himself out of some bad situations there. And I think that we're going to see Calvin Kattar here survive an early storm and then proceed to systematically dismantle Arnold Allen the longer this fight goes. I'll say this, though. Arnold Allen, there's a reason he's riding this tremendous win streak. He is a very smart fighter. And it's almost like, I'm not going to say he realizes the magnitude of the moment and the impact that the decisions he makes inside of the octagon. So he doesn't want to put himself at tremendous risk. Did he get caught up in a dogfight against Dan Hooker right away? Yes. Did he get clipped in that fight? Yes, he did. But I am banking on Calvin Kattar to be the more technical fighter down the stretch and force Arnold Allen into these exchanges where it's going to draw Allen. It's going to draw Allen in, and Calvin Kattar is going to capitalize on it. I think those elbows are going to be at play numerous times throughout this bet, and I'll be picking Calvin Kattar. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Want to wish everybody a tremendous fight morning. Have some plays up at MMAOddsbreaker Premium. Remember, third-party tracked for many, many years. We're up well over 100 units, and we're having a tremendous year so far. So remember to go get what's yours, and let's do this. Continue doing your thing. Have a great day.